Hello everyone, thank you for tuning into Vidiot Entertainment Studios for this episode of Vidiot Movie Reviews. I'm the Nerd Lust Daddy, and today we continue our series reviewing every North American live-action video game film adaptation theatrical release. And today we review an adaptation of a survival horror classic, 2006's Silent Hill. Considering this is an adaptation and not just based on Silent Hill, let's hope this one's good.
Sounds promising.
Sure, Pids, let's get into it. Now, the film Silent Hill released in North American theaters on April 21st, 2006. At this time, 4 games had been released in the series: Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, and Silent Hill 4: The Room. We're going to use the original Silent Hill for comparison of the plot, as the film is an adaptation of it. We'll then dip into some Silent Hill 2 when we're comparing setting and world representation, as a majority of the monsters in the film are directly adapted from it. Now, as for the plot of the first game, it involves Harry Mason and his adopted daughter, Cheryl. While driving to the town of Silent Hill for a vacation, Harry sees a girl in the road, swerves to avoid her, crashes, and loses consciousness. Upon waking, he realizes that Cheryl's missing and heads out into the town to look for her. While exploring, Harry begins to experience bouts of unconsciousness and encounters with monstrous creatures. He meets Sybil Bennett, who's a police officer from a neighboring town, and she's there investigating the strange occurrences happening here recently. They end up running into a woman named Dahlia Gillespie, who gives Harry a charm that she claims can counteract the darkness and strange occurrences happening. Harry begins to believe that the strange darkness is twisting the town into someone's version of a nightmare. Dahlia pleads with him to stop the demon that must be responsible for it, the girl on the road that periodically keeps appearing before him, or else his daughter will die. Now, the next time Harry runs into this girl, the charm activates and neutralizes her telekinetic powers, allowing Dahlia to capture her. She reveals that the girl is her daughter, Alessa, and 7 years earlier, Dahlia had conducted a ritual to force Alessa to give birth to the deity of the cult that she belongs to. During the ritual, Alessa is immolated but physically survives due to being a vessel for the deity, and her mental resilience ended up causing her soul to split into 2, preventing the birth. One part of her soul manifested as Cheryl, while the other half becomes the girl that kept appearing before Harry. Alessa remains in prison within the town's hospital, suffering endless agony due to her injuries from being immolated, and Dahlia seeks a way to complete the ritual. The plot of the film involves Rose and Christopher Da Silva and their adopted daughter, Sharon. Now, Sharon suffers from recurring sleepwalking events, where she has nightmares and speaks of a town called Silent Hill. Rose investigates the town location and takes Sharon on a trip to it in desperation of finding answers as to why this is happening. Upon driving into the edge of the town, a girl steps out in front of the car, causing Rose to crash and lose consciousness. Upon waking, she discovers that Sharon is missing and heads into town to search for her. Now, the town frequently transforms into a more nightmarish version that is inhabited by monstrous creatures that she has to fight and avoid. During her search, she gets closer glimpses of the mysterious girl, revealing that she looks remarkably like Sharon. A police officer named Sybil Bennett, who had been following Rose due to seeing her erratic behavior at a gas station on the way to town, catches up to her and tries to arrest her, but they cannot escape as all roads out of the town lead to dead ends. They eventually learn of Alessa Gillespie, who was a girl that was burned as a witch by the town cult led by her grandmother Christabella. Rose and Sybil end up running into Dahlia, who is the mother of Alessa, and wanders the streets in shame of having let this happen. Further investigation reveals that the town shunned Alessa due to being born out of wedlock. Furthermore, young Alessa was raped by the school's janitor, which Christabella views as her being evil and impure. She then convinces Dahlia to put Alessa through a purifying ritual, and during it, Alessa is immolated but survives. While hospitalized, the pain and rage causes her soul to split into 2 halves, one being a dark aspect of her that is the girl Rose keeps seeing and is causing the strange happenings, and one that is her innocence that manifests as Sharon. That about covers both plots without spoiling too much, and it does seem as if we definitely have some similarities, but there are obvious liberties taken as well. In both instances, we are dealing with cultish and fanatical behavior, as well as most of the same characters being involved. Even with the liberties taken in the film, I actually like the plot of it more than the video games and think it fits well within the universe due to it being dark and very psychologically disturbing. I'm going to give this a hawoo. Pids, what did you think of the plot?
Hawoo!
Let's take a look at the setting and world representation. Now, the film is also set within an almost entirely abandoned town that is constantly dark and filled with snowfall. They changed the snow in the film to be ashes raining down due to an ongoing underground coal fire caused by the events of the ritual attempted upon Alessa. There's definitely disturbing imagery and monsters from the games, although they are mostly taken from the second game for some reason. We get a version of the Grey Child from the first game, as well as seeing creepers. From the second game, we get an adaptation of the lying figure that is referred to here as the Armless Man. We also see the Bubblehead Nurse, referred to here as the Dark Nurse. And of course, we get to see the iconic Pyramid Head in all of his menacing glory. Furthermore, the cinematography of this film has to be given a nod, as the look of the town is actually pretty fantastic. Everything has this very disturbing, oil-painted but slightly washed-out look that I found to be a darkly gorgeous aesthetic. Even though they pulled most of the monsters from the second game, when this is an adaptation of the first, everything's fairly accurate, and I've got to give this a hawoo. Pids, your thoughts?
Hawoo!
Alright, let's dive into the characters here. We're not going to cover every main or starring character, but we will go over the most pertinent to the plot and prominent as actors. Let's start off with Christabella, played by Alice Krieg. You may recognize her from her roles in Chariots of Fire, Stay Alive, and as the Borg Queen in Star Trek First Contact. Here, she's the religious fanatic grandmother and leader of the Manchian cult. The portrayal is excellent here as she comes off as extremely fanatical and willing to do anything at any cost to stick to her beliefs and get her followers to do her bidding. A disturbing and convincing performance for sure. She gets a hawoo from me. Pids, your thoughts on her?
Hawoo!
Dahlia Gillespie, portrayed by Deborah Kara Unger, perhaps best known for her roles in Crash, The Game, and Payback. Here, she's the mother of Alessa who lives in shame and is an outcast from the town. Her performance is good and comes off as one of a woman not only haunted by her past and choices, but one who has also been psychologically broken by them. She gets a hawoo from me. Pids, what did you think of Dahlia?
Hawoo!
Alessa Gillespie, Dark Alessa, and Sharon De Silva, here played by Jodelle Ferland. Her role in this film was very early in her career, but future notable roles you may recognize are Bree Tanner in the Twilight Saga Eclipse and Patience Buckner in The Cabin in the Woods. Here she plays all three roles, and all of them are pretty good. Most notable though I think would be her portrayal of Dark Alessa. She comes off as creepy and vindictive, and there is even a scene where she has a fairly lengthy dialogue with Rose that's surprisingly eloquent and well spoken for an actress of her age. I can give her a hawoo. Pids, your thoughts?
Hawoo!
Sybil Bennett, portrayed by Laurie Holden, notable for her roles in The X-Files, The Mist, and The Walking Dead. Here, she's the police officer that follows Rose due to her concerns. Now, this is a good portrayal here, as well as coming off as a very dedicated, confident, and fearless police officer that has a special interest in making sure nothing goes wrong within the town of Silent Hill. Again, a strong performance that definitely gets a hawoo from me. Pids, your insight on Sybil?
Hawoo!
Christopher De Silva, played by Sean Bean, known for his iconic roles in films such as GoldenEye, The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and National Treasure. Here he's the adopted father to Sharon and husband to Rose. I found the performance to be believable and moving as a father who's concerned over the well-being and safety of his wife and daughter, and he brings a sense of hope throughout the film as well as a moment of convincing despair or defeat in another. I can give him a hawoo here. Pids, how did you feel about him?
Hawoo!
Rose De Silva, portrayed by Radha Mitchell, known for such films as Pitch Black, Phone Booth, and Man on Fire. Here she's the mother to Sharon and our main protagonist. I enjoyed the performance as it came off as a woman desperate to find a solution for her daughter's suffering and one willing to go through hell to find and protect her. Overall, it was a solid performance, so I could give her a hawoo. Pids, what did you think?
Hawoo!
Alright, let's get into our final verdicts here. We have a solid plot, good setting and world representation, and some believable performances here. Let's check with the Pids first and see what he thinks. Pids, what did you think overall of Silent Hill?
hawoo.
I agree with the Pids here. This movie is average, so where did it go wrong? I found the plot to be even better than the games. We have a young girl that's suffering at the hands of a religious zealot, cult, and the town due to being born to a single mother, as well as her being raped and facing the stigmatism of being treated like something dirty and evil because of it. That's far more psychologically disturbing and grounded in reality than a cult trying to resurrect a deity. Now, setting and world representation, as I said, those are fantastic, with the look of the monsters and also that cinematography that's gorgeous with its washed out oil painting look, and the acting as well, fairly top notch throughout. The problem for me is twofold. First, for me, the monsters never created a feeling that the characters are in any mortal danger. They exist more to be psychologically disturbing than a direct threat. And while I understand that is Silent Hill's shtick, I would have liked to have felt that the characters' lives were in imminent danger a little more often. The main offender here, though, is the film's runtime. This thing clocks in at around 2 hours. It's way too long. There were parts of this film where I became so disengaged due to it dragging on into either unnecessary scenes or overly long scenes that I found myself flipping through my phone out of boredom. At most, I can give this a 5Zs out of 10Zs. If they would have cut out about 20 to 30 minutes to increase pacing and increase the threat of mortality, I could see this being at least a 6Zs, maybe even stretching into a 7Zs. I'd say go ahead and check this out if you're a fan of Silent Hill, and if you can overlook the limited threat of mortality as well as the long runtime. The Pids and I want to thank you all for once again tuning into Vidiot Entertainment Studios for this episode of Vidiot Movie Reviews. If you enjoyed our video, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share to show your support. And don't forget to also check us out and subscribe on Twitch, as well as follow us on Twitter. Until next time, I'm the Nerd Lust Daddy. As always, reminding you all to not be chit futters to each other. Body autonomy for all, reproductive rights for women, and peace, love, and happiness to all. Take us home, Pids.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye, everyone.